Hey there everybody, Eric from Outer Limitless here with Joe from Survival Attitude.
Good morning, Eric. How are you?
Good, dude. What's happening?
Not much. Good to be alive.
Well, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for hosting me at your beautiful abode today. And we got some pretty interesting stuff to talk about, I think. So today, this is episode 4 of The Out of Doors.
Yeah.
So pretty cool. It's taken us a little bit to get to this point, but you know, it's I think a good time to bring back the out of doors.
Absolutely.
And so just to premise this real quick, the Out of Doors series is less about the review and more about facilitating the conversation. So if you hear anything here that resonates with you and you'd like to leave a comment, please leave a comment below. It's really for Joe and I to bring the conversation to you, but for you to add into this, and we'd love to hear your opinions. And so today's topic is pretty interesting. I think this one will be fun. They always are. So I'm gonna make a little bit of an analogy here. And so take a really good baseball team, right? Or it doesn't matter, football, hockey, you name it, a really good sports team, right? And there's all these great players and they're all like really good. And the team itself is like a Hall of Fame team, right? Now, on that team, really if someone's gonna make it to the Hall of Fame, you can't pick the whole team. Maybe only one or two of the players from that team, right? Well, that's what we're doing here today. So we're going to take the Esee lineup as a whole and say, if 2 of the knives in the Esee lineup were the Hall of Fame blades, which 2 would they be? Now, we've pre-vetted this and we've already picked our 2. So we are going to say of all the Esee lineup, the 2 blades that are up for competition here are the Esee and the Sc6. I think we made a pretty good choice there to start it off. What do you think?
This is an epic battle of blades. First of all, there truly is not an Esee that I don't like. There's not one that I don't like, okay? And I think what we discussed was not neck, maybe not even, large chopper. But we picked a wilderness blade / survival, almost a one-tool option. And we came up with the Sc6 and the Sc5.
I agree. And you know, we had really discussed, you know, where do you draw the line? Back to your point. I mean, how do you not talk about the Hungless? I mean, in a lot of ways, how do you not talk about the Azula? I mean, it's, you know, these are just great knives all around. But we had to pick 2, and so that's what we're up against today. So if you're an Esee fan, hopefully you'll chime in. If you're not, you're probably gonna hate this video from beginning to end anyway and tell us that we're just Esee fanboys. But you know, with that said, we have a whole bunch to talk about, and if you're interested in seeing a little bit more about what we're about to get into, do us a favor, stay tuned. All right, so the Sc5 and the Sc6, 2, I would say contenders for the Blade Hall of Fame. Now, you know, when you go back to classic rock, it's crazy because some of the music that we grew up with wasn't considered classic rock. No. It was modern at the time, and these days it's considered classic. I mean, are these 2 blades considered classic blades just yet?
I think they are. I think I call them classics, OG, whatever you want to call it. And the reason is, I think going back to Esee brand, Esee has taken 3 turns from these. These are definitely originals, right? But then you went into the Rocky Mountain Tread. Okay, you went into some of the different the RG3, right? Some different shapes.
Right.
Okay,
True.
Okay, and now we took it a step further. I think 3rd gen with the 3D machine scales, contoured scales.
Good point.
So yes, I think going back to each of these, we're talking about Gen 1, as maybe Gen 1 would be rat.
True.
Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
But,
absolutely.
Right, but blade shape is almost the same.
Correct.
Handle almost the same. Polymer sheath almost the same. But in the end, I have to say this. I just want to preface with this. I resisted Esee for many, many, many years, because it seemed there was a fan club right away. And I'm like the anti-fan club. I'm against the grain kind of guy, right? So I had all different stuff before then, and an opportunity to pick this guy up, secondhand, which came with the sheath we'll talk about. And I looked at it and I said to myself, you know something? I understand the popularity because of its simplicity.
Yeah.
Truly, no frills.
Yes. I would say that's actually one of the, I don't know, maybe more like American, like hard use wilderness blade mantras, which is just like simple performance. And this really set the bar for simple performance, and really is a staple amongst that genre of blade.
I know, and they're affordable. You can't argue they're affordable. You can buy one used,
yes,
right? Secondhand, destroyed. But then you get it, throw an edge on it, it's going to perform like new again. And it still has the warranty. The warranty is not owner specific.
It is, transfers in its lifetime, and they've warranted some pretty ridiculous stuff. So, yeah. No, great point. And, you know, I think that leads me to one of these, you know, early points, which is people are going to give an Esee a hard time because they find that there are other knives that maybe could perform in this same class for less money.
Right.
I've had a lot of battles on my channel about that specifically, but for me personally, and just the knives that I tend to gravitate to in my collection, I don't have any problem ever with, call it a sub $150 price point on a good performing blade, and that's certainly where we land with most of these. And you know, I think the other thing too is, and we'll get into this in more detail, these Esee knives have excellent aftermarket support. So you're not just talking about the Esee branded products, but you've had an entire marketplace developed around supporting these knives.
You know what's really cool about that is that, you know, some people don't know where to go with aftermarket scales or sheaths or whatnot, and so they've got to work with that manufacturer or custom maker and quite often send in their blade. You got some downtime. You have a couple of manufacturers that started off the gate that no matter what you buy, sheath, scales, whatever, you know you're going to get it in 2 or 3 days, standard shipping, and it's going to fit bolt on without any problems.
Right.
Consistency with the aftermarket products is amazing with Esee.
That's a big deal. That's a real big deal. So, okay, well, with that, let's get into a little eye candy. Let's talk about the specifics here. And again, I just want to remind everybody that this is not really my opinion or Joe's opinion about which one of these is the Hall of Fame blade. So if you have thoughts about this, please leave a comment below.
All right, so to start, we have Bonestock. And Bonestock, for many people, keeping it, you know, pure, it works. I truly have no complaints. I would say any aftermarket accessories you get are only a plus. But out of the gate, I don't care what Esee you have, and I think I have all of them. I've never complained once about the ergos and sheath retention and the way it carries right out of the gate. So don't feel you have to spend extra money getting the mods. These are just some luxuries we treated ourselves to get some customization in our collection. But talking about the Sc6, here is a Bonestock Sc6 knife with a linen micarta scales. Their linen micarta scales do come with liners. It's a nice pop. Okay, it's going to come with the polymer sheath, and I actually love their polymer sheath. This is a knife connection backer. Normally it would come with this backer right here, which makes it rigid. You know, it goes in your belt, but for many people it clicks on the pack. It's effective, it works just fine. I like a little bit of flexibility when I carry my knives, but you can see how nice the retention is. Okay, so it works very, very well. You can also get from Esee they call it their Molly backer, and it is specific to the 5 and the 6 as it is the 3 and the 4, so they're compatible, but this is meant for the 5 and the 6. But see how good it is. This is really, really well made. Sleeve through Molly, bolts line up perfectly. These are very, very inexpensive, and you can add a dangle option. But so there's a Bonestock 6. This is a 5. Okay, it has been used slightly. I did buy it also secondhand. And this one came with the canvas micarta scales. These patina are really nice, and they're going to give a little bit extra grip because the canvas is just a thicker cotton material. But, you know, take them off, get some aftermarket scales, and you can see how nice they fit. There's going to be some slight imperfections, but I've never complained about that. I've even adjusted these actually, just slapped them on. So there is your standard 5, and the 5 I believe did come with, this is an Esee Kydex Sheath. It's an original Kydex. It is taco style, but it's actually one piece. It's fold over. I like fold over. I think it gets a bit more rigidity and durability. There's a tension lock, and this is just a aftermarket fire steel. They're very inexpensive. They're made by Battle Horse Knives, but they are sold on a knife connection. It's just a nice leather backer. Gives some good look, but also a little bit of flex in the carry, and gives a little bit of organic feel. So there's a Bonestock blade with some minor mods. All Esees come, as you know, so I have a card, we'll talk about that. But, oh yeah, here's another Esee 6. Used a couple times. Bonestock blade, no mods, and just some simple knife connection scales. And this one did come with the linen, but because they're interchangeable between the 5 and the 6, if you want a nice canvas, really awesome. So there you go.
And so as Joe had mentioned, the Esees do have some availability even with the Esee branded products, and as Joe showed you this Molly backer, this is another iteration of that. So part of the Esee lineup, again, this is the Molly backer with that sort of dangle portion, and as you look here, that polymer sheath fitting nicely in between the backer and also a pouch. So the nice thing is, if you wanted to build out your kit and build out your system, now at this point you're really able to add on to it and add additional accessories, and that's one of the things that I've greatly come to enjoy about the Esees, and for me really got me further and deeper into the hobby. This particular knife is really the one that I keep coming back to and saying the SE6 for me was the knife that really started my channel. It's the knife that gave me some, I would say, comfort and just that feeling of comfort deep in the wilderness, because I knew with a good quality stout blade with some accessories and the things that I needed, that I would be safe. I'd have the ability to do the work I needed, process my fire, and beyond that, just do some good quality camp tasks.
Alright, so as we discussed, a lot of different aftermarket options. I mentioned some of the leather backers you can get and scales from the knife connection, but I also want to talk just a quick moment about the sheaths. This is a knife connection sheath. They come in a wide variety of different colors. This one I believe is a Cryptic Typhoon. This one down here is also, it's the same exact style sheath, just in straight black with orange. That's my high school colors. And just, you know, one of my favorite makers of all time. I think Doug Wilson from Yellowhawk Customs Outdoors is, to me, the original heavy-duty, bet your life and then some sheath, custom Kydex sheath maker. And in here, we've got a nice super thick Kydex. This is probably 5-6 years old, maybe older. I know he has only the 2 bolts now. He's sure that it's a little bit stronger, but I've laid on it. I've scraped on it. I've never had an issue. But tech lock, and as always, depending on how you configure it from Doug, you can mount them about 5 different ways. Because of the weight of the SE5, I'd really like to carry it baldric, and I usually carry a heavier knife in the winter, and so it carries over my winter coat. But also just to show you how interchangeable all these scales really are. I've never done it, but we'll take, Eric, if you don't mind, we'll take your 6. Retention's still great on that, and we'll put it in. I'll put it in an aftermarket sheath. Hopefully it. I know it will. Actually, I'm confident. I mean, look at that. It's unbelievable. And we even put it in the black one. incredible. So you want to take it a step further. Let's take this 5 and put it in the Doug Wilson sheath. Unbelievable. And put this back in an original. The one thing about the Esees is no matter what you have, what you use, it's going to work, it's going to fit. And the nice thing is you can change colors, just change the look. You get bored of it over a while, then you swap it out, and you confidence in knowing that it's safe, it's secure, and it gives a different look and aesthetic. So, knife connection, true custom, Doug Wilson.
All right, so at this point, I think we've shown why we feel the SE5 and SE6 are quality candidates as a Hall of Fame blade. But at this point, we also need to differentiate sort of between these. And again, we're not going to really, I would say, draw any pure conclusions amongst us. Rather, facilitate the conversation for all of you. So if you like this conversation and you like where it's going and you have any opinions, again, please leave a comment below. We'd love to hear from you. But Joe, these here are our users.
Oh yeah.
I think we've had some field time with these knives, huh?
Yeah, I got about 5-6 years on mine.
Nice. Yeah, me too, actually. Just about the same, about 5 years. And so for me, the SE6 is the blade that I naturally gravitated towards early, and it seems pretty interesting you naturally gravitated towards the 5?
Yeah, now, by the way, I don't think I naturally gravitated towards it. I think I saw this on eBay.
Yeah.
And it came with what I knew right away, and I know what I paid for it, and I pretty much feel like I stole it. But as you know, I put as much stock into the sheath, the carry system, I truly do, as I do the knife.
Right.
And nothing drives me crazier than a really nice knife and a truly, lesser grade sheath. So when I saw this package, and by the way, this package came with a matching scaled, I'll talk about those, Azula. So, it's like the first car you have. You love it or you hate it. Right. I love my first car, my Monte Carlo. But if I had this same opportunity with, heck, even if I saw yours, and by the way, I bid on craziness, the same exact type with 6, with knife connection scales, it's almost the same exact rig system. This thing went for big bucks.
Right.
But had I got that for my first knife, it may be a different story today. But I have used in the bush many 6s, and I know its capability, I know its strengths. But even if I bought both at the same exact time, I still feel that I'd gravitate towards the 5.
Got it. Got it. Well, so that gets us now into the intended use. And you said it a little bit early on, which is this sort of one tool option mentality. Now, obviously there's a lot of one tool options out there, but when you get into the Esee lineup, it starts to differentiate. You're not gonna do really fine tasks with the Hungerless, and you're not gonna really split with the Azula. So you need to find these knives in that middle ground that can fit that niche, and really, when your ass is on the line, perform in many, many ways. And so again, that's why we're back down to the SE6 and the SE5. So at this point, talk to me a little bit about your thoughts and what you would do with the 5 and what we would do with the 6, and maybe we'll compare them a little bit back and forth, talk about the specs briefly, and just show these in a little bit more detail. And after that, man, I think we got to use these things. We
definitely do. So no question to start is that both of these models, the 5 and the 6, I believe are one tool options. You can bet your life on it. We have to achieve a couple tasks. Number one is you have to be able to process raw, not cordwood, raw firewood to stay warm.
Yes.
Okay, that's survival, number one. And some people put it before or after, depending on the condition of the weather, and it's shelter building. Okay, the ability to chop boughs, okay, delimb, make ridge poles, okay. you know, you're not going to do it with a Kangaroo. Okay.
Right.
Though I saw a great video on Blade Connection, Blade HQ that did it. It was awesome. But when you have yourself, your family, you're with a group, and something goes wrong, you need to make a splint. Yep. You have to do something, or a stretcher.
Right.
You know, it's never happened in my life, but I know that either of these two have the ability to perform when life is on the line, and that's what I chose the 5 for, and 6 is right there.
I agree. So interesting. All right, at this point, let's shift gears. Let's use these a little bit and get into some field use. I don't know about you. I need coffee.
I need coffee.
I mean, that's part. I mean, my cup is empty. This is this is going against the rules of the out of doors mantra, which part of it is drinking coffee. So let's get the fire going. We'll use the blades. We'll process some wood. We'll make our coffee, and we'll wrap this up.
Let's do it.
All right.
All right. So we're gonna do a little bit of chopping with the 5 and a 6. These knives are probably the same age. They've probably been used the same amount. Mine has been, and so yours is too, sharpened, nicked, chipped, rolled, whatever. They've been beat on. Okay, so I've just done a minor strop. Eric, how about yours?
Yep, same thing. Just drop the edge.
Okay.
Ceramic rods.
Oh, cool, nice. Yeah. So feeling them, they're both very similar. All right, 1095 holds a good edge, but let's get into some chopping. Let's do 10. I'll do 10 with mine, 10 with your 6. You do the same. And then I know yours slid through your linear hole. I'm not going to use mine. I want just ergonomics to see what we get. So let's get on it.
All right, so 10 chops.
10 chops. It's just 10 chops. Okay.
Why don't you get a harder piece of wood?
I don't even know what this is. Okay, there's 10 chops with the 6. Felt great, felt locked in. Now 10 chops with my 5.
Is that 9?
I think it was 9. I want to get that last piece out. Okay.
All right, so analyzing the results here.
You were near knots. Let's give that some grace.
They're still, I would say, fairly similar, but just by observation, the chips flew a little better with the 5.
Okay.
I can't tell on the depth of the cut. I mean, it looks like, I don't know. You maybe got a little more depth out of the 6 and a little more overall, like, wood removed out of the 5. They're very similar, huh?
They are very similar.
Interesting. All right.
Now I'm excited to see your view.
Well, let's see how I do. All right, so we'll do the same thing here. I'll start with the 6, and then I'll go to the 5. Going to do 10 chops, a couple sections of the log here. So first, for the 6. Couple of little mishits. Is this cheating if we pull out the flex?
Because I want to see what it end up with for raw.
Yeah, I mean this is like on the verge, but we'll leave it. That's about right. So let's leave that. All right, so that there, the 6. I had a couple of bad mishits, but hey, that's what happens. And so now for the 5, this is actually my very first time using a 5.
Wow!
How weird is that?
Wow!
I know. It's crazy.
Stand back?
Yeah. I think we'll be all right. Same handle scales, so it shouldn't be that much different. Oh, I got it. I can tell you already that the 5 here, I mean, that's like on the verge. I'm going to take it because I'm saying that counts. I can tell just by the way I hit, the 5 did, I mean, for me, much better work there. There's no doubt. I mean, this absolutely hits harder. It's got more mass. I mean, when you feel these two blades, This thing is just a lot heavier. It's not, you know, nearly as light or nimble, but I mean, good balance. You definitely have, you know, a good amount of handle weight with a good amount of blade weight, ultimately leading to a balanced knife. I'm not saying it's not balanced. I mean, I could probably get it to sit relatively balanced, a little bit forward weighted on this, I guess, huh? Which, well, it just depends. So pretty well balanced there. And then on the 6 as well, very, very balanced. But even though both of them balanced, it's a mass difference. I mean, look at the 1/4 inch stock here on the 5. You have a 3/16 here on the 6. But this leads to our next sort of knife use challenge here. I mean, it's not just about the chopping. I mean, what do you think? Do a little bit of splitting, Joe?
Sure.
Let's do it.
All right, so I think another aspect of the you know, having a good one tool option is cross batoning. You know, if you didn't have a saw or an axe, you had to get through something to make, you know, whatever. You got to shorten the log. So let's flip it, and we're going to cross baton. And I think cross batoning is going to do, Eric, is going to give a real testament how these perform in different thicknesses and grinds. So I'm curious. I truly am curious. I have a hunch that this is going to cross baton better. I'm going to do 10. Now with the 6.
So it was pretty interesting because obviously I was filming, but to watch it straight on, I mean, obviously the 5 did a good job, but it was the initial bite, that very first bite of the 6 that kind of caught me by surprise. And as you look down here at the actual quality of the cuts here are very, very smooth. And I think that is a testament to the flat grind. You end up with a little bit more of that flat grind just chiseling down and through the wood. Now, granted, that's also really obviously a flat spot on the 5, but once you get further down, you kind of do get into that saber grind, and it's going to cause the knife just to twist a little bit and spin. So you get a little bit of that grind here on the flat, just acting to twist the knife so it doesn't plunge quite as straight or as smooth as it does with the 6. So just an observation. It's just something that I saw as Joe was working, but I guess at this point it's my turn to try the cross batoning. So let's see what we get. So moving here, I'm gonna start again with the 5. Gonna do 10 chops. This is a behemoth of a baton.
Okay.
Not bad. Pretty good, pretty good. All right. And so now for the 6, same thing. 10 chops. Should say 10 batons. Alright, so you can see the pieces weren't flying out quite the same for me with the 6 as the 5. However, there is one thing, and that's I did get overall, I would say, deeper cuts. It's not quite as wide, it's not quite as blown out yet, but this did go just a little bit deeper. And hey, you know, I mean, I'm not sure if anything here is conclusive. I think, to be honest with you, both of them performed extremely well for the cross batoning task. All right, so now moving forward, you know, the reason why we test knives in a certain direction, and I know a lot of people would say, well, you want to test the edge first and do some slicing, but for us, you know, I think this comes down to how do you process wood. If you're going to process wood from the get-go, I mean, first you need to chop something down, then you need to get it to length, and then you need to split it. And that's how I like to test knives, and that's kind of what we're doing here. So moving forward in this test at this point, we're actually going to do some batoning. So now with the 5, we are both going to use the 5 and the 6 for these and get this stuff down to length. So we're going to quarter this, and we'll give it a shot. Pooh! I mean, that's that initial crack, and I'm telling you, I barely hit this. I mean, I was just trying to pretty much set the knife. Incredible wedging and splitting action. That's awesome. I mean, that really was very minimal effort. In fact, literally just dropping the baton right down and through. No worries at all. I mean, that was minimal effort. Drop the baton, barely hitting it. I mean, that is very little effort. That is really sweet. And so next, now for the 6, let's do the same thing. Just gonna get this here. Definitely a lot more effort needed. You can hear the wood cracking. Blew it apart eventually, but it took more energy on my part to make it happen. Now, granted, this can span a little bit of a longer log than the 5. There you go. And one more piece here. I'm going to turn it this way so you can watch the crack actually develop. And that's the thing, as you see with the 6, that crack developing, it's not nearly as broad or wedging as the 5. I think that's where the 5 gets a little bit of an advantage in this department. But the 6 will do the work. No problem, just not quite as easy.
Okay, so as Eric said, and I love that concept, demonstrate the cracking. So there might not be much demonstration. Watch.
I mean, that was pretty much first whack. Wedging right down.
I want to try that again. I like that concept a lot.
Just go slow.
Let me go slow.
Yeah.
So we'll set it, and then we'll start tapping. Six time.
So how'd you feel about it?
It's interesting. The last 2 batons came apart with ease. Obviously there is some inconsistencies with the wood. Using both, I feel that the 6 could bind just a little bit more than the 5 because you have more flat surface area with the flat grind. You don't have the saber, so you don't have that wedge. Plus, we have completely different thicknesses. The 5 is almost a third thicker. However, they both felt great. I would be happy to use either one in this batoning scenario. I don't have any formal opinions of either, but I do have a great respect for the 6. It's been a couple years since I've used one. It just feels so good. But great test. All right. Highly controversial topic, the stab cut. If you're not experienced with it, I honestly wouldn't do it. I would start with a popsicle stick to get really familiar with it because there is high risk to danger here. Okay, but lock in, try to put your thumb over that pommel to give you extra protection. Hit center and just send. Do one more because now we're taking advantage of the flat here. Flatter. Okay, felt good. Great in the stab. Let's grab the 5. Stabs with the 5. About 1.5 inches back, so keep it consistent. I'm going to contribute that to inconsistencies with the wood. This one is also a little bit thicker. But let's go center. Start it. Send it. Okay. My thought is that the 6 stabbed a little better. It just had better penetrating. I felt a little safer with the length, my hand a little higher, so I feel I actually got more momentum. This I had to really start chiseling it in. I'm curious what your thoughts are, Eric.
So there's only one way for me to figure that out, and that's to try. The first thing I'm going to say about the 6, which I like, it's flat on top and it's nicely rounded. So even though you have the exposed tang and pommel, it's not going to create too much of a hot spot, and it's going to give you a great surface to bear against. So to Joe's point, that lockup is critical to staying safe, so that in combination with the guard's going to do it. But again, these are some healthy pieces for stabbing through, Joe. So I'm going to do my best here and hopefully drive down and through the wood safely. I'm going to set it here. There we go, got it to crack. Now at this point the knife's all the way through. I kind of need to twist. I don't know if that's going to pop on me, and just to be safe I'm not going to continue to twist on this. I don't like it. I don't feel safe, so I'm not going to continue to really twist and yank on that. But what I will do is set the knife again a little bit further back and continue to work with my crack. There we go. So did it, no problem. Felt pretty good. And I wasn't nervous about my hand sliding past the guard. Now, part way through, you'll notice I did change my grip from my thumb being on top to a full grip there, but that was by design. And again, leveraging that guard to keep me safe. So overall, felt pretty good. Trying to find an equally thick piece here for the 5. Now, the 5's going to be a little bit different. You have more of that sort of glass breaker top. So that's not going to be quite as comfortable for the thumb. You just need to be careful. I would say you're bearing more on the side angle there. That's going to be a definitive hot spot. But going at it here, you still have the same guard, same handles as the 6, which is nice. And as I slide this around here, let's set it. Oh my God, that for me was no problem. So just a, who knows, technique or the piece of wood, but that was sweet. Let's get one more little piece. Look at that. Bam. I mean, that's just a little bit punky there, but I mean, this thing just stabs like a champ. through, no problem. So pretty cool. You know, again, hard to say. I had a little bit of a better experience in this case with the 5. Joe, maybe you with the 6, but hey, it's not for us to decide. What do you think?
So Eric, my suggestion would be 15 seconds per knife, per side. Chopping, delimbing.
Delimbing.
Very important bushcraft skill.
I agree.
All right, let's do it.
Let's go with the 6. You tell me when.
Yep. Okay. Go.
Uh-oh, I'm in trouble already. What the heck? Ugh.
Sit, buddy.
Wow, this thing's hard. Okay.
Okay.
Not many. I cracked off maybe 4, roughly.
Okay.
Maybe 5.
Okay. 15 seconds with the 5. Ready? Go. There you go.
Oh, smoked the 6 in that one. I attribute that to the mass. I mean, when you're getting into some of that cracking, it was, you know, where this is completely dead wood. I mean, that was just sort of like cracking and shearing it away at the same time. Man, that thing just blasted. Joe?
Okay.
It's your turn.
All right.
Joe, we're giving you 15 seconds with the 6. On your mark, get set, go.
I got a lot.
You did much better than me. Your attack was way better too.
I got a lot.
Nice. Joe, you got 15 seconds with the 5. Ready, go. Oh, finished it off. That's time. And it's dead.
Okay, I'll tell you the first thing. Handles, so consistent. Even though this is a little fatter with the Joe Sonorski scales, which became the knife connection, obviously, and the flats, standards. But they both felt equally confident in hand. With the belly, the blade guard, and the actual hook in the back, consistent. Felt great. Yeah, the mass of the 5 powered through. That's all I gotta say. It's the mass of the 5.
You got yourself a little knuckle buster there, Joe.
Love it.
Oh, I was looking at the other one.
Even better.
All right, so a big part of a survival blade is going to be the carving capability. Now there's a number of ways we could test this in terms of carving. What we have here is a nice thick dowel. It's actually, you know, old coat hanging rod. And we thought it would be a good consistent diameter for both blades. Now what we're going to do is a couple of different grips. I'm going to actually do some chest pulls because when I start carving, I do like the ability to get a little bit more wood off early on. So I'm going to do some chest pulls. We're going to do 10 pulls. Each side is going to be a different knife. So this for the 5, other side for the 6. And let's just see what it looks like after 10. So getting my grip and trying to find the edge.
There's 10 on that side.
So there's 10.
Compression and chest, yeah.
Not too bad. You know, it takes me a little bit sometimes to find the edge in different grips. So I didn't have too many chances to really adapt and improve. But after 10, that's the 5. And now spinning this over, we're going to do 10 with the 6.
There's 10.
My edge is horrendous. That's part of what's going on here. It's so convexed at this point. It is really not a V-grind at all. You can see clearly with the 5, I mean, much better results than with the 6. Okay.
All right. SE6, dowel, compression or chest pulls, 10. That felt really good. I'm satisfied with the chunks it took out.
Real good.
Yeah. All right, let me try the 5. Okay, SE5, chest pull. It's almost the same.
Very close. All right, so I mean, equally important, just standard carving. For me, I really think this is, you know, more than anything, just one of the basic skills you absolutely need. And when I get good control over a knife and can do some solid work, I find that I can really control where the shavings go. Always try to throw them towards the camera if I can. Give you just an understanding of that edge angle and attack. Now the SE5 here is going to be a little more broad than the 6, but I mean, no doubt it's just hogging out the wood. And as I miss the lens and hit Joe in the face, I know I'm finding the edge angle and really doing a pretty good job here, throwing nice chunks. So it feels good in the hand. I gotta say, it's doing a great job carving, very comfortable. And now for the 6, it's a little bit lighter, but you get a little more length. And so here, again, good control overall, feeling really comfortable in the hand and doing a nice job carving. But the difference here is if I want a little more control, I do get that choil. So as I get in and want to do some finer work, kind of helps me ease up a bit, just find that edge and do some good controlled carving here. So comfortable in the hand. Either way you go, I'd say both of these knives are pretty much the same. A little bit different in the grip, a little bit different in the cutting length, but a nice edge on both knives.
All right, 6. Boy, gravitate towards that choil and jimping. Try to do what you did.
Try to hit me. Yeah. Payback. Nice.
This is fun. Non-choil.
You're coming close.
This is ridiculous, dude. All right, we try the 5. All right. Sorry, here we go. Jimping first.
Oh, direct
Ringer. I'm gonna try, there is a little bit of a choil. I'm gonna try a little choke up. I have an opinion, but it could be blade edge. I think mine has a little bit more edge than yours.
All right, so getting real close now after a bunch of testing to actually starting our fire, and to do that, I do want some feathers. Now, we are at this point thinking that maybe I've lost a little bit of edge on the 6, just, you know, due to some of this testing and the fact that there's less metal on the 6 than the 5, just being a thinner stock. But let's prove it out just a little bit. Let's get into some feathers here. Now, a good edge should get some nice curls. And so, at this point, I mean, just right away, I can tell you it is still carving very nicely. Good control, feels good, reasonably thin. It's not biting too deep, but it's also not glancing off the wood, which tells me that I still have the control over the edge I'm looking for while doing some of these finer tasks. You can see I am leveraging the finger choil here. That just helps me get a little bit of control. And working this right down the wood, I can tell you that actually the back edge of the blade here is still just a little bit sharper and gives me a little bit more bite than up here on the belly. That's not really a surprise. You know, the belly of the blade oftentimes gets pretty well beat up, especially in harder use. But overall, gotta say, for these feathers, it does still feel pretty darn nice. So, you know, reasonable result. Not the tightest curly cues here, but definitely something that I could use to start a fire. And so now with the 5, gonna be a little different. There is actually a little flat spot and a little choil there, so hey, I take that back. You can do some choking up if you want. I think I'm actually going to leverage that for this test. Now, feeling it here. Definitely nice edge, nice grind, feels good, good bite. Very slicey actually for a thicker stock so far. You'll see the curls are falling off the log, not a big deal. That doesn't matter at all. That's not a testament of the knife, that's just my technique in this particular piece of wood. But as I work here, you'll see that this does, if I go real slow and easy, do a nice job planing right down, curling out those little thin curly cues. And some of these are very fine and refined. Both knives, I would say, at this time performing about equally well. I do have to say though, I like the feel of the 6 better in my hands. That's a subjective, sort of opinionated feel. You know, I just personally like the way this fits in my hands a little bit better for carving, but in terms of performance, either way, very, very good, very close. So another big reason why I believe these Esee knives fall into the Hall of Fame category. This is what I learned on. I mean, these knives are fairly forgiving, 1095 steel, easy to mod. And you'll notice that both Joe and I basically at this point have no coatings on our blades. And in fact, Joe has taken his a step further where now it has a nice sharp spine. Now that's a modification. That's not something that comes stock on these Esee knives. But because they're forgiving and because these are fairly easy to work on, you do have the capability of learning. And for me, I've learned more about working and modding a knife on my Sc6 than any other blade. And I know that's probably the case too for Joe. So at this point, let's take advantage of this fact that he has a nice sharp spine and get our fire started, because at this point I'm not only looking for my coffee, but I'm getting hungry too. So, all right, Joe. Nice job, man. Man, what to say? I mean, obviously a very, very interesting look at two very capable blades. I was actually a little bit surprised at some of the results. I mean, you know, I knew both would perform, but when you put them side by side and you look at that plethora of different tasks, it was really neat to see how each one actually did perform.
It really was. You know, I have the two 6s, safe queens, and I've had many of hours just in the hand, just air chopping. Right. I've also used a lot of my friends in the field. They all have the 6s, and many of them have just one knife. They have just the 6.
Right.
Okay. So I'm very familiar. I tell you, it feels fantastic. In the end, I don't want to give you my opinion about anything because it's the audience's. But what do you got? What are your thoughts?
You know, I'm glad to get my hands on the 5. And I can't believe it's been this long without me really using it. I definitely understand it, I appreciate it, and I get it. I'm usually less of the 1/4-inch stock type of guy, so even when you go into some other blades, and I'm not going to mention other manufacturers, but you know, that typically would use a thicker stock, I don't naturally gravitate. However, I love the fact that, and we've said it a few times, you get that comfort in your hand of your familiar friend. So, you know, whichever one you pick up, you have that familiar factor. And that definitely works well for me. Now, in terms of even the carving, I was very, very happy with how well this carved. The chopping tasks, it has the mass. It is a weighty knife. I mean, when you balance the two in your hands, I'd be real curious to put these side by side on a scale.
Yeah.
It's the one thing we're really not going to be able to do. You know, overall, I mean, it's always different strokes for different folks. However, I could say that if either one of these were in my hands in a survival situation, or even as my only blade that I owned, like if you told me this was the last knife I could ever own, damn, I'd be in good shape, man.
Yeah.
So overall, very pleased.
Yeah, interesting. So different strokes for different folks, but the one nice thing is an Esee is an Esee is an Esee. Okay? You can't really say that about other manufacturers because they're so different. We have consistency. We have same handle. The jimping, I have a lot of blades. I know you do too. I'm gonna say it. Production, even in my customs, best of all time. Out of the gate, they don't cut your fingers up. They have just the right amount of gap. Wood doesn't get stuck. Lateral motions, I've never complained. In fact, I've come to really, I can't imagine Esee without.
Right.
Okay, so the jimping is, I think, industry best. We talked about accessories and different sheaths and different scales. Bolt on, no surgery needed.
Right.
All right. You know, this knife feels nimble. This knife feels heavy.
I'll call it stocky.
Stocky.
Right? It's got this like stocky, kind of robust, like battle tank. You know, it's, you know what I mean? It's, you just feel it, and it's like, this is powerful. This is indestructible. This is going to do some hard work. I'm not worried about it. I have to admit, I do worry about my Esee at times. I've never had a problem, and I've still pounded it as hard as anything else, and I've pushed its limits. I've yet to find its limits. So even though it is nimble, I do think about it. I would never think about the SE5. It would never even cross my mind. I don't care what you pound it into, hog on, torque on, pry. And that's one thing we didn't really do is prying, which we could, but we're not gonna. And I don't want to leave this short of that, but just in discussion, you could pry anything, literally anything. And I don't care if you're trying to rip open, like, you know, a hatch cover or a car door, or dig into any wood. I mean, wood is not gonna phase an SE5. You can't do all that with the 6. You can't. Bottom line is you can't. You can't pry open a car door. You can, but I would think about it. I would worry about it. I would do it carefully as to not ruin my one survival knife if I was in that situation. I wouldn't think twice about it with the 5.
No, we talk about that. So, you know, there have been times when I've needed to move rocks, just get a piece of leverage, and I've actually done it with this. There's some scratches right here on that. You know, prying a car door, if you're an operator, you need to get somebody out of a burning vehicle or a Humvee, whatever it may be. I would never think that, I don't care how strong you are, I don't. There's no way you're gonna even bend it. Okay, you're going to get that open. This, you do have to understand its limitations. However, the benefit of this is, let's call it slicey dicey. Let's be real. And as you've shown on that cross baton, this thing bit in, because this was looking to wedge the wood apart, which it wasn't there yet. This will go as deep as you could whack that baton. Food prep, this is going to excel. Fatigue in your body through hiking, listen, every ounce counts. Lighter weight. Penetrating, protection. If you're in Alaska and something were to happen and you get startled, bear, wolf, predator, let's be real. Boom, penetrating capability, hit vitals, this is going to be better. It's going to penetrate easier, it's going to hit vitals much better. For safety and protection, I'm going to use the 6.
So let me ask you, because I'm not much of a hunting type of guy and I don't do much processing of game or animals for that matter. And I know that you have some experience with that.
So?
I mean, in your opinion, which would be the better knife?
6 all day.
So,
without question, that thin stock, that full flat, you don't want Scandi hunting, okay? You want the ability to get in, Ulu style, scrape, skin, cape, get fat off, and get in really in backstrapping all day long, hunting, no question. Great point. Even filleting a large fish.
Yep.
Hello.
Yep.
Right? Amazing. So, different strokes are different folks. I think that's a good theme here. In the end of the day, it's what you want. If you're going to lean more towards survival, meaning urban, you got to breach a lock. You want to get a door open. Take a tire and get it removed from a rim to light it, to set a smoke signal. I'm going to trust this. If I'm in the outdoor applications and I really want that outdoor protection, I'm going to pick this, especially if I'm going to be hunting and skinning an animal. So, you know what? They are completely different knives. And I've always said, why doesn't Esee make the 6 into thicker stock with a saber? And why don't they make the 5 and a full flat thinner stock? They could have done that years ago.
it'd be fun.
It would be fun.
But there's really just one thing left, and bottom line is we can only pick one for the Hall of Fame. Which one's it gonna be? Again, not for us to decide, that's for you. So at this point, I think we're gonna wrap it up. Leave a comment below, let us know your thoughts. If you're still with us at this point in the video, thank you for hanging on. I hope you enjoyed that. I think we got a lot of good testing of some, again, Hall of Fame blades. And hey, you know what? If one of these doesn't make it to the Hall of Fame, I can tell you it's still been an MVP in my book.
MVP all day long.
So thank you guys. Hope you like what you saw. Hope you found it a little bit informative. If you like what you saw, please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Take care now. We'll see you soon.
Real soon.